Number 10, the Dog Boy. The small town of Quitman, located in Cleburne County, Arkansas, is known for its rich history and picturesque Victorian era homes. However, among these charming homes lies a dark history that has led to the town being known for its haunted houses. One such house is the Beatis house, a large home on Mulberry Street. This house has had a long and troubled history dating back to the late 19th century. The house was originally built by the Garrett family in the late 1800s. It was a grand and impressive home, and for many years it was the pride of the Quitman. However, in the early 1950s, the house was sold to the Beatis family. The Beatis family, consisting of Floyd and Aileen, were childish for many years until they had a son in 1954 named Gerald Floyd Beatis. Gerald Beatis was a difficult child from an early age, and he was known for being very vicious and cruel to others. He also had a strange interest in collecting stray animals and later torturing them. Then as he grew older, his behavior became more sinister, and he allegedly kept his elderly parents imprisoned in the upstairs part of the house, where he would only feed them when he decided it was time for them to eat. He was also known for physically abusing his father and throwing him out of an upstairs window on one occasion. It is believed by the locals that the spirits of the Garrett family, along with the spirit of Gerald Beatis, still haunt the house to this day. The haunt has been vacant for many years and local residents avoid it at all costs. Number 9, the Boggy Creek Monster. The small town of Fouke, Arkansas has long been captivated by the legend of the Boggy Creek Monster. According to the local legend, the creature, said to be between 7 to 8 feet tall and weighing around 300 pounds, is covered in thick long hair and has been spotted roaming the area for over a century. The first reported sightings date back to 1834, with a surge in sightings around Fouke in the 1900s. In 1997 alone, residents reported spotting the monster more than 40 times. The creature is often thought to be nocturnal, but one hunter even reported a sighting in broad daylight in the Sulphur River Wildlife Area near Fouke in 2000. The legend of the Boggy Creek Monster has been the subject of several films, with the most notable being 1973's The Legend of Boggy Creek. The movie, which centers around a supposed encounter with the beast by Bobby Ford, was most likely shot on location in Fouke and brought the legend to the attention of millions of people. The film also brought an economic boost to the region, with many cast members being locals or nearby college students. The famous encounter that the film is based on actually occurred in 1971. The Fords claim that the Boggy Creek Monster attacked their home late on the night of May 1st. According to Elizabeth Ford, the creature reached through her screen window but was chased away by Bobby and his brother Dan. Unsatisfied, the monster reportedly returned shortly after midnight and tossed Bobby to the ground. Bobby was taken to the St. Michael Hospital in Texarkana and treated for large gashes across his back. Although no traces of blood were found at the Ford's home, 3-toed footprints were found near the house, there were scratches on the porch, and the siding and a window were both damaged. Number 8, railroad track lights. There is a supposed haunted railroad track in Crowset, Arkansas, and after many reports, it has now become a hotspot for paranormal enthusiasts. According to the locals, a ghostly light appears to move up and down the tracks as if it's being held by a disembodied spirit. Some local residents claim that the source of this ghostly light is the spirit of a man who was hit by a train and decapitated, and now his ghost walks these tracks searching for his head. This is what it kind of looks like.
Oh my god, it's bright. Daddy, I'm scared. No, I'm not kidding, Daddy, I swear. It's in the middle of the road. No, I'm not kidding. I'm not.
Many people who have visited the tracks have reported strange encounters with the ghostly light. Some claim that when standing on the tracks, the light will come towards them, disappear, then reappear on the other side. There are many videos available online that capture this strange experience, but it is unclear if the light is just an ordinary sight on the track or if there is actually something paranormal going on in the area. Number 7, the vanishing hitchhiker. In central Arkansas, there is a chilling ghost story that's commonly told around Halloween. Introducing the tale of the vanishing hitchhiker. According to the legend, travelers on the dark road of Arkansas Highway 365 sometimes encounter a young girl walking in the pouring rain in a torn white dress while crossing one spooky bridge. Some say they have stopped to give the young girl a ride. Those who stop say that they pick her up and drive her to her nearby home. However, when they arrive, the drivers discover that the girl has suddenly disappeared. Those who choose to knock on the front door of the home the young girl takes them to learn from a woman who answers that the young girl used to live at the home but was killed in a car accident, and she usually regularly hitchhikes a ride home, according to legend. One man recalled the time this happened to him, where he picked up the girl and even gave the girl his jacket. As expected, when they arrived, she disappeared, and when he went to the door, a woman answered, and he explained explain what had just occurred. The woman at the door said, quote, "That young girl is my daughter, who was killed years ago. She hitchhikes back home once a year." The young man then drove to the cemetery to see the young girl's grave. There he found his coat draped over her tombstone. Number 6, the Gosrow. Arkansas not only has haunted homes and stories, but they also have their own terrifying creatures. These were known as the Gosrow. This monster is believed to be a massive 20-foot long creature with tusks and claws. But that's not even the most interesting part of them. On January 31st, 1897, the Arkansas Gazette, a popular newspaper of the time, published an article written by Albert Smithy that included the sketch of this creature, and also an account of the first known encounter with it. The encounter, as described by Smithy, took place in the Ozark Forest, where a man named William Miller was traveling through the tiny town of Blanco. Miller had heard reports of livestock and pets being found dead, so he formed a group to track down the predator. They eventually encountered a creature that was 20 feet long with tusks and claws, as well as a row of horns along its back and a tail that ended in a blade-like point. The group supposedly killed the beast, but the body that Miller swore he shipped to the Smithsonian never arrived. The eerie scream that was heard in the forest before the encounter, which sounded like a gaw-row, gave the urban legend its name. There are several possible explanations for the legend of this creature. Smithy may have just wanted attention for claiming to know the details of this elusive creature, or the story may have been a case of mistaken identity. The tusk and horns could have belonged to a razorback pig, or since the creature was said to have emerged from the lake, an alligator could have been the culprit. But despite the lack of concrete evidence, the legend of the Gosrow has continued to captivate the imagination of the citizens of Arkansas for over 125 years. It may be a tall tale, but you never know what could be lurking in those forests. In the hump of our list, we have the Eureka Springs. Eureka Spring, Arkansas is a small town that is known for its immense paranormal activity. While some see it primarily as a gorgeous little Victorian village and a wonderful place to react, others consider it a hotbed for paranormal activity and also one of the most haunted places in Arkansas. Both perspectives are valid, of course, but mostly Eureka Springs is complex, a place where a vibrant, quirky little town is overrun with hauntings. Don't let the cheery buildings and nice folks fool you. The souls of the departed lives in Eureka Springs too. One of the most famous haunted places in the town is the 1886 Crescent Hotel. The hotel has been featured on the Travel Channel and is famous for its haunted room 218, where the ghost of Michael, who fell to his death during the hotel's construction, is said to reside. Guests have reported feeling a presence in the room, and some have even claimed to have seen the ghostly figure of Michael himself. The entire Crescent Hotel is full of ghosts, partly because it was once used as a cancer hospital, complete with a morgue that is also one of the most haunted places on the grounds. Number 4, the Allen House. The Allen House in Monticello, Arkansas is a beautiful 1906 Queen Anne Victorian style home, but it has a dark history that has made it a popular spot for ghost hunters and history enthusiasts alike. The house was built by local businessman Joe Lee Allen and was intended to be a showpiece in the town, with impressive porch columns and neoclassical design with a touch of Gothic decoration. Allen, along with his wife and 3 daughters, moved into the family home, and for a while they were content. Allen's business ventures thrived and all was well, until his death in 1917. Then in 1949, another tragedy happened that would cast a shadow over the house's majestic appearance. During the last week of 1948, daughter Liddell Allen poisoned herself after consuming mercury cyanide. The new year would begin on a dark note with Liddell's death. For nearly 40 years, her room was sealed off by her mother. Then after Mrs. Allen died in 1954, the home was sectioned into apartments and remained a rental property run by the Allen family. Tenants began seeing strange things and experiencing paranormal activity not long after they moved in. Shadowy figures would appear in photographs taken by residents, and furniture was rearranged with no one having touched anything. Objects around the house would disappear into thin air, and ever since, the story of Liddell grew into urban legend, and the Allen House was declared haunted by both residents and locals alike. Number 3, the Cotter Bridge. The R.M. Ruthven Rainbow Arch Bridge, also known as the Cotter Bridge, is a man-made wonder located in the town of Cotter, North Arkansas. Built in 1930 and renovated in 2004, it spans the White River and is known for its architectural marvel, trout fishing, and natural beauty. But beneath its lovely trusses, the bridge is also home to some spooky legends and ghost stories that have been passed down through generations. One of the most popular legends of the Cotter Bridge is the ghostly children that play on it during some nights. Visitors have reported hearing their laughter and chatter, but when they look for the children, they just disappear. While there is no concrete evidence to prove that these children are ghosts, the eerie and mysterious nature of their presence have left many visitors wondering. Another chilling tale that surrounds the Cotter Bridge is the ghost of a woman who is said to be chased by hounds. Visitors have reported hearing her screams and the baying of the hounds, but when they look for the source, they see nothing. The identity of the woman remains unknown, and the reason for her ghostly presence is also a mystery. Some say that she may have been the victim of a tragic event that occurred near the bridge, while others believe she may have been the spirit of someone who drowned in the White River below. Number 2, the Gurdon Light. The Gurdon Ghost Light is a mysterious and unexplained phenomenon that has been observed and documented in the small town of Gurdon, Arkansas. The light, which is said to be an eerie white-blue color that sways back and forth and moves around on a horizon, has been reported by locals and tourists alike. One popular legend surrounding the light is that it's the ghost of a railway worker who was killed on the job. According to this theory, the ghost is said to be carrying a lantern and roaming the tracks, searching for something. Another theory suggests that the light is the ghost of a railway worker who fell in front of a train and lost his head, and the light is coming from the lantern he carried in life as he searches for his missing head. While the true origins of the Gurdon Light ghost are unknown, there are a few natural theories as to what it might be. Some scientists have suggested it could be caused by highway lights reflecting through the trees, but historians and local residents disagree, as the light has been reported since before the highway was even built. Number 1, the Pea Ridge National Military Park. The Pea Ridge National Military Park in Arkansas is a place where history and a mystery collide. The battlefield is a haunting reminder of the brutal and bloody battle that took place here in 1962 during the Civil War. Here, the Confederate Army, outnumbered by the Union Army, fought bravely but ultimately lost the battle, resulting in the deaths of nearly 3,400 men and boys. Visitors to the battlefield have reported strange and eerie experiences that seem to be connected to the intense history of the place. Many have reported hearing cannon fire in the night, feeling strange presences following them around the battlefield, and hearing the shouts of boys who died on the bloody ground. The Confederate Army, made up of mostly boys, Texicans, and Missourians, were advancing north in hopes of capturing St. Louis in Missouri. They were exhausted, running low on food and ammunition, and their spirits were dampened by early losses at Pea Ridge. Meanwhile, the Union Army, led by a commander who is considered more of a politician than a war-tested general, rallied around a hot breakfast, proud of their success on the first day of battle and glad to have faced down an army that significantly outnumbered them. The battle lasted for 2 days, March 6th through March 8th, and at 10:30 a.m. on the morning of March 8th, the Confederate Army began its retreat, and by that time the smoke cleared, the battlefield was littered with the bodies of fallen soldiers. The eerie feeling of the battlefield may be due to the intense history, and considering that 3,400 people lost their lives here, it's not a surprise you may see at least one spirit. Coming in at a number 10 spot, we have the Devil's Tower. This brick tower was built in 1910 by millionaire sugar importer Manuel Rionda. He claims he built it for his late wife, Harriet Rionda, in order to give her a better view of the skyline. However, nowadays many believe his wife's spirit is stuck inside of the tower. According to the local legend, Harriet spotted Manuel with another woman one day, and despite the fact that she may have suspected cheating for over years, she still went off to the tower and took her own life out of grief. Since her alleged suicide, there has been several stories of hauntings, including accounts from persons who claim they were propelled by an eerie force. After all these tragedies, the tower was eventually named into the Devil's Tower, and I could say this name fits pretty well. At a number 9 spot, we have the Jersey Devil. Did you know that the mascot of the NHL team, New Jersey Devils, is based on a real creature that used to terrorize the state for years? Yeah. They are described as kangaroo-like creatures with the face of a horse, the head of a dog, and bat-like wings, horns, and tails. Sightings have occurred for the past 200 years, and it all started when a resident of Estiville was going to give birth for the 13th time, which she didn't plan for. So in disgust, she yelled out, quote, "Let it be the devil," and when it came out, it actually turned out to be a baby devil who ended up screeching before flying out the window, and that is now known as the New Jersey Devil. And I know that story might sound a bit crazy, but regardless, during the years, New Jersey has had unidentified creatures raiding chicken coops and killing livestock. At number 8 spot, we have the Watcher. This story has been made into a full-length show, but the fact that it was a true story makes it that much creepier. Located in Westfield, New Jersey at 657 Boulevard is the infamous Watcher House. It all started when a young couple named Derek and Maria Broadus bought the home back in 2014. The house is pretty old to begin with, so they immediately began renovations to make it into their dream home. However, shortly after they were official owners of the home, they would receive several letters from a person only known as the Watcher. The first letter read, quote, 657 Boulevard has been the subject of my family for decades now, and as it approaches its 110th birthday, I have been put in charge of watching and waiting for its second coming. My grandfather watched the house in 1920s, and my father watched it in the 1960s. It is now my time. Do you know the history of the house? Do you know what lies within the walls of 657 Boulevard? Why are you here? I will find out. Eventually, the couple would get more and more letters to the point when the police needed to be involved. And when they finally sold the home, they never really uncovered who the Watcher truly was. At our number 7 spot, we have the Hindenburg Hangar. On May 6, 1937, a German passenger airship known as the LZ-129 Hindenburg was engulfed in flames and destroyed in an attempt to dock with its mooring mast at the Lakehurst Naval Air Station. Inside the airship was 97 people, and after the fire consumed the hangar, there were a total of 35 fatalities. This news eventually broke out and would immediately mark the end of the airship era. And even though the accident occurred almost 90 years ago, it's said that the air station is haunted by the ghosts of the former passengers of the Hindenburg. More specifically, this supernatural activity is mostly found inside of Hangar 1 or the Hindenburg Hangar. Here, some visitors claim to smell the scent of burning flesh as if the fire accident is happening all over again. Overnight workers of the air station also claim to hear someone walking inside of the hangar when it's confirmed that no one else is there. They usually leave the hangar alone due to these reasons, but regardless, that hangar has a very bad vibe to it, and I wouldn't be surprised that it's somewhat cursed in some way. At number 6 spot, we have Clinton Road. First of all, this is probably the only road in the US where I read that many haunting experiences where I wouldn't even want to consider driving on this road at all. I'm not even lying. This road went through it all. Satanic rituals, UFOs, mythical creatures, ghostly Camaros, and even hate groups. After all of this history, it makes sense why many people consider this to be the most haunted road in the United States. However, the most infamous story about this road has to be the Ghost Boy Bridge. So apparently, if you place a quarter in the middle of the road at midnight where the yellow line is at one of the bridges over Clinton Brook, otherwise known as the Dead Man's Curve, shortly after, the ghost of a boy will appear right in front of you. Story goes that this is a boy who drowned in the river nearby, and if he appears in front of you, he may push you near to the bridge where he was murdered on. In the hump of our list, we have the Shades of Death Road. Located in Warren County, this is yet another terrifying road to travel on in New Jersey. You're really better off taking a boat in this state, I swear. It's a 2-lane rural road that is around 7 miles in length. Legend of the road tells us of a time many years ago when a car full of teenagers were driving down this road to get to their prom. However, the road was extremely slippery that night, and when the car took a sharp turn, the car lost control and fell into a ditch, killing every single teenager in the vehicle. Nowadays, if you find that this road is very slippery, especially during a rainstorm, chances are you may catch a glimpse of one of the girl teenagers still wearing her prom dress. And some have even picked her up only to find that she disappears out of nowhere before arriving at her destination. The forest around this road has also been the site of many grisly murders and disappearances. And after many countless reports, this street was eventually given the name Death. At a number 4 spot, we have the Pines Barrens. Over 1 million acres and 7 counties in New Jersey make up the densely forested Pine Barrens. During the colonial era, the region was home to numerous enterprises, including paper mills and even sawmills. When coal was eventually discovered to the west in Pennsylvania, people eventually left the mills and neighboring communities, leaving behind ghost towns and some claim a few paranormal wanderers. The Jersey Devil is without a doubt the most well-known inhabitant of the Pine Barrens. The monster, which had leathery wings and hooves, was said to have been Deborah Lee's 14th child and born in 1735. Since then, has been terrorizing South Jersey homeowners and killing cattle after flying up the Lee's chimney and into the Pine Barrens. Eventually, a bounty was out for the devil, but no one was able to capture it, and has since remained a mystery ever since. At a number 3 spot, we have the Flanders Hotel. Alongside Jersey Shore is the infamous Flanders Hotel on 11th and Boardwalk in Ocean City. This hotel was first completed in 1923, and after its opening, it immediately became very famous among tourists and locals alike. I mean, it had property alongside the boardwalk and was very modern compared to the other hotels in the time. However, as the guests started to pile up at this hotel, many would be leaving with an experience they didn't expect. It was found that there was hundreds of reports claiming that the hotel had supernatural activity within it. However, the most common story is that of a ghost of a young woman looking for something in the hotel. Many people claim to see this woman in white wearing a wedding gown who always seemed to be looking for something on the floor. The story goes that this woman was named Emily, and during World War I, her husband never ended up returning. So it's said that her spirit is still at the hotel in hopes that her husband will finally return and she will find the ring that he was going to give her. At number 2 spot, we have the cave grave. In the town of Newton lies a quiet small graveyard situated alongside Route 621. Though the majority of the stones from the 19th and 20th century are upright limestone or granite, there is one memorial that is quite unique from the rest. It is a headstone located about 50 yards outside the cemetery's boundaries, which actually closes the entrance to a cave. Inscribed on the stone are the names of James, Margaret, and J. Howard Lewis, and the year 1909. Story goes that all 3 of these people were young children when they passed away. It all started when Margaret went into the cave and eventually got lost. So the boys decided to go in as well to save their sister, but they would meet the same type of fate and disappear into the cave's abyss. After several rescue missions were done, the bodies of the children were just never found. Many cave explorers claim that the cave has some of the most supernatural activity within it. Many people claim to hear the voices of these children, while others claim that Margaret is haunting the cave by appearing to explorers in her dirty dress. All the way at our number 1 spot, we have the Trenton Psychiatric Hospital. Trenton Psychiatric Hospital, originally named New Jersey State Lunatic Asylum, has a long history of helping mentally ill patients and even harming them. The hospital opened in 1848 and welcomed 86 patients. The first superintendent, Horace, was a good man and provided excellent care for all the people in his custody. Then it took a turn for the worse when Dr. Henry Cotton took over. The doctor believed he could cure mental illness by removing organs. He believed that infections caused mental illness, so he tested it by removing his patients' teeth, limbs, or any body part with slight signs of infection. This would cause dozens of patients to pass away, and many claim that you can hear the screams of his patients inside of the walls of the hospital to this day. Others even claim to see the apparition of Dr. Cotton himself and other ghosts with missing limbs. Unfortunately, after his passing in 1933, a review found his medical procedures caused 45% of his patients to perish. The irony was, the doctor was clinically insane as well. At our number 10 spot, we have the Candy Lady. In the early 1900s, children in the rural town of Terrell, Texas started to go missing. Some of the residents blamed it on the Candy Lady. The story says that she would go around leaving candy on children's home windows just before bedtime. As the parents began to fall asleep, it'll encourage children to grab the candy, but as they try to grab it, the lady grabs them and feasts on their sugar-laden blood until there isn't any left. A farmer allegedly found rotten teeth on his farm and later found the body of a boy with his pockets stuffed with candy. Many people believe that Candy Lady is in fact real and went by the name of Clara Crane. Clara Crane was accused of poisoning her husband back in 1895 with poison-laced caramel candies. But that's not all. 5 years before the incident, Crane's 5-year-old daughter passed away from unknown causes, which many believe that she poisoned her daughter as well. At our number 9 spot, we have La Llorona. This legend originates from El Paso, Texas. Almost all Latin cultures know the story of La Llorona, and the people of El Paso are no exception to that. La Llorona directly translates to the weeping woman, which perfectly describes the behavior of this malevolent spirit. She is said to haunt the riverbanks of the Rio Grande, where she is searching for her 2 children whom she had already drowned in that very river. Now there are many iterations of the story, but I'll just mention the most popular one. The legend goes that a lady found her boyfriend with another woman. After a heated argument between the two, the woman was heartbroken and wanted to get revenge, so she took the children and proceeded to drown them in the Rio Grande River in Texas. It's also said that when she was done throwing her children into the river, she went back to her lover's home with a bloody wedding gown, showing her she would do whatever it took to be with him. It's said to be the reason why many children disappear in that very area, and she supposedly takes other children to fill the void she lost. So if you're in the area, beware of a woman weeping in a wedding gown who is sitting by the Rio Grande. At number 8 spot, El Cucuy. This creature is known as South Texas' official boogeyman. There are many versions of El Cucuy since it already originates in Mexico as well. It's said that this monster kidnaps children who misbehave and takes them back to the mountain where he lives to devour them. He appears as a hairless creature with an enormous head that dwarfs his spider-like body. He also has these large red glowing eyes, red ears to hear everything, and razor-sharp fangs and claws to accompany that. The origin of El Cucuy goes that a man was suffering with tuberculosis. Desperate to cure himself, he fetched an African witch doctor. The doctor told him to drink a child's blood, but as he did, he started to turn into the monster described. Ever since, he has a never-ending thirst for children's blood. At our number 7, we have the Screaming Bridge. In North Arlington, Texas, 50 years ago, there was a group of teenage girls girls driving home from a football game. The bridge was designed to only fit one car at a time, and I know, what a dumb bridge, but this was in the past and I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. The girls weren't paying attention and went full speed over the bridge until a car with no headlights struck them head on, with all of the girls passing away. Some say when they go near the bridge they can hear the distant screams sounding like the girls before they passed away. As well, if you go over the bridge and look down at the water below, you can see the tombstones of all the girls with their names and birthdays written on it. At number 6 spot we have the Goatman's Bridge. Why are there so many haunted bridges? Like, I don't get it. But in Denton County, Texas lies the Goatman's Bridge, which was built in 1884. This bridge is supposedly haunted by the ghost of the Goat Man. The story goes that a black goat farmer named Oscar Washburn was renowned for quality meat, milk, and cheeses, and then he moved with his family just north of the bridge. Except when he arrived in this area, he was instantly the target of racial hate crime. The racist townfolk came together and burned down the farm with the family inside. They then threw Oscar's body over that very bridge. Now he appears as a half goat, half man humanoid that reeks of decaying flesh. If you knock on the bridge 3 times, it said that you can summon the Goat Man, but now others use this area for rituals and other supernatural activities. Right in the hump of our list, we have the Lady of White Rock Lake. The lake is located in Dallas, Texas, and many visitors claim that they spot a drenched young woman who appears crawling out of the water or asking to fetch a ride. When many people offer her this ride, she disappears out of thin air and leaves a bloody, wet seat mark and a terrified driver. Even though many of the drivers were scared to their core, some decide to go to the address given to them by the girl. When they arrive at the door, they're all met by the same man who tells them that his daughter had gone sailing and never came back. Many people believe the story is inspired by the 1953 book Neiman Marcus, Texas, the story of the Proud Dallas Store, and according to the book, Malloy and his wife are driving home late one night in East Dallas when a young, beautiful blonde girl ghost appears on the road. Her elegant dresses is naturally wet and she seems to be in trouble. She gives them an address on Gaston Avenue and asks them to be taken home, but as they drive, she disappears, leaving only a mark. At our number 4 spot, we have the Lake Worth Monster. You just learned about the Goatman, right? Well, this is basically the Goatman, but of the lake. This monster terrorized the people of the town for years, with many describing the creature as being 7 feet tall, around 300 pounds, long-necked, flopped-eared, pot-bellied, covered in white scales and hair. I swear I just described Shaquille O'Neal. The monster was supposedly captured on camera, but you guys be the judge of that one. It looks like a 2-year-old drew on a camera lens on a potato with a crayon and then took this photo. But who knows, it might be real. This beast was inspired by Sally Ann Clark's book, The Lake Worth Monster of Greer Lake, Fort Worth, Texas. In the book, the monster jumped on the hood of someone's car and shook up the car so badly that they got caught in a bad accident. The people described it being a 7 feet tall being covered in scales and fur and resembled a half goat and half man. Pretty scary if you ask me. All the way at our number 3 spot, we have the Donkey Lady. The Donkey Lady of San Antonio, Texas dates all the way back in the late 1800s. The Donkey Lady was once a beautiful woman with children and a husband, but one day in a rage, the husband burned down the house with the children and wife still inside. The children passed away, but however, the wife managed to survive, but suffered greatly from this. Her toes and fingers would be fused together in a hoove-like way, and her face was melted and sagging, inspiring the Donkey Lady name. There's a bridge in South San Antonio named the Old Applewhite Bridge, or the Donkey Lady Bridge. This is the bridge she went to crown after this horrible tragedy. Now it's said if you go to the bridge after midnight and call out the Donkey Lady, she will appear just before you. Some have claimed she had run at people who call out her name, or sometimes just stalks in the forest line waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike. At number 2 spot, we have the girl who danced with the devil. The story takes place in the 1970s in San Antonio, Texas, with a young Mexican girl named Rosa. One day the girl wanted to attend a dance at a nearby nightclub named the El Cabroncito. However, the parents were very strict and didn't want her anywhere near the nightclub. Despite their orders, she snuck out of her house and traveled all the way to the nightclub where she could finally have her dance. At the club, Rosa was approached by this very tall, charming, and well-dressed man who asked her permission to dance. When they began dancing, Rosa was terrified when she discovered he had goat hooves instead of feet. When she screamed in terror, people in the club started to chase him out, but as he got close, he vanished out of thin air, leaving a trail of smoke and the smell of sulfur. Double activity if that wasn't enough. It's said that the area surrounding the nightclub still smells of sulfur to this day. At a number 1 spot with El Muerto. El Muerto, otherwise known as the Headless Horseman of Texas, is a Texas legend that dates all the way back in the mid-1800s. The story goes that 2 rangers, Creed Taylor and William Bigfoot Wallace, were hunting a criminal known as Vidal along the Mexican border. Vidal had been wreaking havoc all across the state of Texas, so when the ranger caught them, they wanted to set an example. So they did just that and cut his head clean off. They then tied his head to the saddle saddle and sent his horse with the headless body running off into the night. Now the horse continued to explore the region with its headless rider. The tale of El Muerto began to grow after it was reported that both had been seen numerous times and that gunshots had no impact on either of them. Spotting El Muerto was thought to foreshadow bad luck because everyone who claimed to have seen him was struck with a series of bad luck and poor health following it. Number 10. The Red Lady of Huntingdon College. The Red Lady of Huntingdon College is a legendary ghost that is sent to haunt the former Pratt Hall dormitory at the Huntingdon College in Montgomery, Alabama. According to Wyndham and historian Daniel Barefoot, there have actually been 2 ghosts referred to as the Red Lady. The first Red Lady was described as a woman in a scarlet dress and parasol, who walked wordlessly in the halls of the women's dormitory, bathed in a red glow, due to her father's will specifying she attends her mother's alma mater. Martha was shy and unhappy and struggled to make friends at the college, leading her to become increasingly aloof and bitter. Despite the efforts of the dormitory president to befriend her, Martha remained isolated, often wandering into the rooms of other students and casting a chill upon groups. Her behavior grew increasingly strange as she would visit dormitories during the darkest hours of the night, never speaking but only staring into space as if in a trance. One evening after Martha had not been seen for the day, her former roommate found her dead in her room. It is believed that she had taken her own life, but rumors circulated that her ghost continued to haunt Pratt Hall. Students reported seeing her walking up and down the halls, opening and closing doors, and staring into space. The Red Lady's ghostly encounters continued for many years, and now she's become a well-known legend at the college and the entire state. Number 9. Deceased Children's Playground. The Deceased Children's Playground in Huntsville, Alabama is a pretty intimidating name for a seemingly innocent-looking playground. According to local lore, many children who died during the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic in Huntsville were buried in Maple Hill Cemetery, which adjoins the playground. Some people believe that the spirits of these children come out to play in the playground after dark, which has led many to report of unexplained movements and ghostly sightings in the area. For those who don't know, the Spanish flu pandemic was a global disaster, killing an estimated 50 million people worldwide, including many in Huntsville, where the deceased arrived on September 25, 1918. Within the 10 days, it had spread to the general population, and hospitals were filled with patients, leading to doctors working long shifts to try to ease their suffering. As a result, many families were quarantined in their homes, and to prevent the spread of the disease, parents told children to keep the windows closed. This resulted in the rhyme, "I had a bird, its name was Enza, I opened the window and influenza." Although there is no official count of the number of children who passed away in Huntsville during the pandemic or how many people were buried in Maple Hill, it is likely that hundreds perished, leading to this park being extremely haunted. Number 8. Hell's Gate Bridge. Hell's Gate Bridge in Oxford, Alabama is considered to be the most haunted bridge in the state. The bridge's name was inspired by the legend of a young couple whose car drove off the bridge and into the waters below in the 1950s. According to the legend, if you stop on the bridge and turn off your lights, a member of the couple will enter your car and leave a wet spot on the seats. This eerie story is why the bridge is considered to be very haunted. But it is not just a couple that haunts Hell's Gates Bridge. It is also said that if you stop on the bridge and look over your shoulder, the road behind you will resemble the fiery gates of hell. This frightening tale has led many visitors to the bridge seeking to experience the supernatural for themselves. Although the Oxford Paranormal Society conducted an investigation in 2007 and found no evidence of paranormal activity, there are still many locals who claim to have had a ghostly encounter at this bridge. Despite the bridge's reputation, local officials have closed it off to any sort of vehicles due to safety concerns, but visitors are able to still walk across it if they dare. While the old bridge is falling apart, it is an unforgettable experience to walk on it, even in the daylight. Whether or not the stories behind the haunted bridge in Alabama are true, the legend of Hell's Gate Bridge continues to live on and attract visitors from far and wide. If you are brave enough to walk across this historic bridge, you will be forever changed. Number 7. The Sloss Furnaces. Birmingham, Alabama was founded in 1871 with the aim of becoming a major center for America's industrial age, taking advantage of its rich deposits of iron ore, coal, and limestone. The city was nicknamed the Magic City, and one of its key attractions was the Sloss Furnaces, built by James Wither Sloss in 1881. The furnaces were dangerous and men worked 12-hour days facing danger at every single turn. Many workers died from accidents, including falling into molten steel or suffering from carbon monoxide poisoning. There's even a story of a worker who was dragged into gears during his lunch break. The furnaces were known for paranormal activity as well, with reports of screams, apparitions, and the presence of slag, which is a cruel foreman. On September 9, 1887, worker Richard Jowers fell into molten steel and was incinerated. It is rumored that his bones were removed, but his remains were lost completely. Today, Slough Furnaces is a national landmark and still echoes with the sounds of his perilous past. It is possible that the workers who lost their lives at these furnaces still haunt the grounds, reminding the city of their sacrifice. Number 6. The Downey Booger. The legend of the Downey Booger dates back to the late 1800s in Winston County, Alabama. Known for its rugged men, whiskey, and Saturday night dances, Winston County was also infamous for the strange creature that had been sighted by John and Joe Downey while they were returning home from a dance. The creature, which had both human and animal-like features, had frightened the cousins' horses and caused them to run in the opposite direction. Later, a family returning from a church service and Jim Jackson, who was transporting moonshine to a mining town, also reported encounters with this creature. Jim Jackson fired twice at this creature, causing it to scream like a woman and limp on 3 feet. A posse formed to find this creature, but all they found were traces of blood leading from the sandbed to a distant cliff. The true identity of this creature still remains a mystery to this day, and its strange appearance and haunting screams continues to be retold among the residents of Winston County. In the hump of our list, we have the Alabama White Thing. The mystery of the Alabama White Thing has been the subject of much speculation and storytelling for nearly a century. Originating in the Triangle region between Morgan, Etowah, and Jefferson counties, this creature is described as being over 7 feet tall and covered in long white hair. It is known for its lightning fast speed and eerie screech that sounds like a woman's scream or a panther's roar. There has been numerous sightings of the White Thing in Happy Hollow, Walnut Grove, and Moody's Chapel. Some people believe it could be an albino Bigfoot or a large albino bear. Peter J. Gossett, a historian of Winston County, heard the story of the White Thing from his aunt, Fenata Martin Smith. She told him of a man named George Norris who had a close encounter with the creature in Enon Graveyard. According to Smith, Norris described the White Thing as having the appearance of a lion with a bushy, slick tail. He said it was looking at him when he woke up one morning to find it laying next to him, but it didn't seem to pose a threat. Number 4. The Drish House. The Drish House in Tuscaloosa, Alabama has a rich history that dates back to 1837. Built by Dr. John R. Drish, a physician and prominent home builder in the area, the 2-story Greek Revival style home was once part of a 450-acre plantation. Drish employed slave artisans for his plasterwork projects, and his success in the field led him to marrying a wealthy widow named Sarah Owen McKinney. But the Drish House is not just known for its rich history, but also for its notorious reputation as being one of the most haunted sites in Tuscaloosa. The spirits of the original occupants are said to still haunt the house, including Dr. Drish, Sarah Drish, and Catherine, which is the daughter of the Drish family. In 1969, author Catherine Tucker Wyndham published a book about 13 ghost stories in Alabama. And the second chapter, called Death Lights in the Tower, tells the story of a mysterious phantom fire that occurred on the Drish House Tower after the passing of Sarah Drish. Number 3. The Bear Creek Swamp. Bear Creek Swamp, located in Autauga County between Prattville and Autaugaville, has been a source of ghost stories for many years. A woman who is said to be searching for her missing child is said to roam the swamp at all hours, with some claiming that the baby drowned there and others saying that the children was kidnapped by indigenous people. According to the legend, if someone visits the swamp at midnight and chants, "I have your baby," 3 times, the woman will appear, kind of like Bloody Mary. Many people have reported sightings of apparitions that resemble indigenous people and early settlers, as well as phantom lights and cackling laughter in the area. The legend of Bear Creek Swamp becomes more intriguing in November 2014 when the Autauga County Sheriff's Office recovered 21 dolls that had been mysteriously stuck into the marshland. Although the Sheriff's Office never determined who placed the dolls there, officials just believed it to be a Halloween prank. But was it really? Number 2. The Tuskegee Syphilis Experiment. This experiment was designed to observe the effects of syphilis when untreated. It was conducted in 1932 by the U.S. Public Health Service with 600 African Americans recruited from Alabama. The men consisted of 399 with latent syphilis and 201 as a control group with no syphilis. They agreed to the study because they were promised free healthcare, which they never got, and were originally told that they were being treated for bad blood. These men were given only placebos such as aspirin and mineral supplements, rather than being treated with penicillin, which was the recommended treatment at the time. Many participants of the study died, went blind, or got driven to insanity, while others suffered other severe health complications due to the untreated syphilis. The story ended up arising back in 1972, and by that time 28 more participants perished, 100 had passed away from related issues, 40 spouses were diagnosed with it, and the disease got even passed down to 19 of their children. Despite an apology from President Clinton in 1997, the damages had already been done. Number 1. Hugging Molly. The small town of Abbeville in Alabama is known for many things, but one of its most famous legends is that of Hugging Molly. According to the local folklore, Hugging Molly is a tall figure dressed in all black, including a wide-brimmed hat, who wanders the street of Abbeville at night looking for children to hug. Although the origin of the legend is unclear, there are several different theories as to who or what Hugging Molly really is. One theory is that Hugging Molly was a woman who lost her own child and as a result goes after the local children to make up for it. Another theory suggests that Hugging Molly was a professor at the Alabama Agricultural School and her intention was to keep the students safe by getting them off the streets at night. There's also others who believe that Hugging Molly was murdered in cold blood on the very streets she now haunts and is trying to fulfill something. Despite the frightening appearance of this haunting Molly, there has never been any reports of harm caused by her. In fact, she's almost a part of the community and town history, with local residents even being named after her. With so many different interpretations, it is really difficult to determine the truth behind the story of her. But one thing is for sure, on a cold, dark, and rainy night, Hugging Molly still roams the street of Abbeville, seeking out children to hug. At a number 10 spot, we have the Mount Baker Theater. Opening up in 1927, the Mount Baker Theater in Bellingham was haunted from day one. Unidentified sounds, chilly spots, strange disembodied voices, balls of light, and even the odd apparition are just a few of the stories that have been noted here. As well, many guests have reported the ghost of a young woman named Judy here, and it's said that she has constant crushes on male visitors and will choose to usher them into their seats if she does have a crush on them. People know it's Judy when they begin to hear their names across the floor and feel as if someone is touching them on their back or shoulders. Another spirit trapped in this hotel is a cat that is found in the basement of the theater. Many claim that whenever they go to the basement and catch a glimpse of this cat, something is bound to happen, as with any black cat theory. Oddly enough, Mount Baker Theater keeps a ghost light on stage during the off hours, claiming that they ward off the evil ones from the theater, but who really knows if this works like they say they do?
But what haunts the theater is as varied as the witnesses who felt it. Maureen believes it could be the spirit of her son Michael, a theater employee in love with the building.
After he died, I was in here at a performance one night and I felt a little tugging right up here in my hair. And I thought, oh, it's Michael.
Margaret believes it's an impish woman named Judy, who may have lived on the site long before the theater was even built. This may be a ghostly picture of her.
I think she's nice. I don't think she's malicious, but I think she does like to tease, especially the men that are here alone.
At a number 9 spot, we have the Maury Island incident. Weeks before the infamous Roswell accident, Red Krisman and Harold Dahl had their own encounter that shocked many people at the time. It all started on June 24, 1947, when pilot Kenneth Arnold claimed to see a string of 9 shiny unidentified flying objects traveling around 1,200 miles per hour past Mount Rainier. After it got nationwide attention, many people came to say that they too have seen the UFOs flying. Eventually, the story would be relayed to Red Krisman and Harold Dahl, who both claimed to have fragments from the supposed UFO they saw. When they interviewed Harold, he would go on to say, quote, "On June 21st, 1947, in the afternoon about 2 o'clock, I as captain was steering my patrol boat close to the shore of a bay on Maury Island. On board were 2 crewmen, my 15-year-old son and his dog. As I looked from the wheel of my boat, I noticed 6 very large donut-shaped aircraft. They also made a claim that they were approached by a man in black later on who told them to never speak of the incident again. Eventually, the FBI started to investigate this case and stated that this incident was a hoax, but who knows? This really wouldn't be the first time the US government was hiding UFOs, right? Number 8, the Black Cat at Stevens Hall. Built in 1895 in Pullman, Washington, the Stevens Hall was once praised as the, quote, most beautiful building on the campus. But once people started stepping foot inside, they took back these claims. Kind of like when you meet someone that is physically attractive, but just has a terrible personality. This is that place. It all started as a hangout spot for students at Washington State University. Here they would dance, drink, and tell stories to one another. One story told at the hall was Edgar Allan Poe's The Black Cat. It was read on Halloween every single year until one 1 year, the students believed the story had come to life. Eventually, many people would see sightings of this black cat in Stevens Hall. Then on one Halloween, a black cat stood in front of the house's mother's door, which is basically the person who runs the house, and when the students opened the door to see what the black cat was hiding, they found that the girl behind the door had passed away, and many people believed it was caused by this black cat. Number 7, the Iron Goat Trail. In 1893, a railroad was constructed across the Cascades of Washington. This would be great news because it would finally mean that Seattle would be connected with the Midwest and many other states. Except once trains started to use this railroad, they ran into many problems. To begin with, trains with engines on each end had to struggle up switchbacks to reach the summit. And the worst part was, since it was in the mountains, snow could reach up to 25 feet high in some places, which would just have hundreds of people digging out in the snow in order for the train to go through. Then in February 1920, the deadliest avalanche in American history hit the railroad, derailing carts and killing a total of 96 people. And at a time, the rescue mission was nearly impossible due to the extreme weather conditions present on the mountain. Now many hikers come across the area where the accident occurred, and many find themselves leaving immediately the moment they got there. This is because some hikers have reported hearing noticeable noises, screams coming from the tunnels, while others have spotted apparitions of men looking zombie-like walking towards them. All these components make this place one of Washington State's most haunted places. Number 6, Port Townsend, Washington. Considered to be one of America's most haunted cities, Port Townsend definitely has a dark history to back up that claim. The thing about this place is that paranormal activity isn't in a single building or two, but they say that spirits roam freely around the town, and there's not a place in town where you don't have the chance to see a ghost. For example, the Manresa Castle located in the city was once visited by ghost adventures, and they supposedly captured children's laughter on film, as well as feeling as though someone or something was pressing against them the whole time. Then we have the Palace Hotel, which used to be known as the Palace of Sweets due to the woman who used to live there, but many visitors claim these women never left. Well, that is their spirit, of course. They say a woman in blue exposes herself to guests and staff members while the other spirits try to play pranks on other people. And last, we have the Rothschild House, which is Washington's most haunted museum, where the former family members of the home seem to not like having strangers inside of their place. Guests have reported things ranging from slamming doors to seeing some of their former family members in their rooms. Regardless, this town is extremely beautiful, but if you decide to visit, try to avoid some of the ghosts I just mentioned. But it looks like you really can't, because they're everywhere. In the hump of our list, we have the Caddy of Cadborough Bay. Wait, did you think we can escape the Loch Ness Monster? Because we just can't. There's one in every single state. And for Washington, they have the Cadabrosaurus, nicknamed the Caddy. It is said to be a 20-foot serpentine beast that inhabits the northern part of the west coast. It's described as having the head of a horse and the body of a very large eel. Eyewitness reports have been coming in for the past 200 years with 300 different sightings. Even the Inuit people drew this creature on their canoes in hopes they could ward it off once they entered in the water. As with all these Loch Ness Monster hypes, people claim to have found and captured ones, but eventually it gets to a point when you can't even tell what's real and what's fake. So at the end of the day, you guys have to be the judge of that.
There's a whole family of these darn things.
Last year, he shot this video of what looks like a sea monster.
Okay, just keep watching. Now watch. Its head's gonna come out. Its head's gonna pop out. Check this out.
It's blue. So those aren't sea lions. You've seen sea lions. Hell up. It's got humps that are.
They're 20 to 30 feet long. They're long, skinny things.
Oh, that is no. What the heck is that?
Number 4, Bigfoot. Yes, the hairy creature has made its way back onto this list simply because this is the state where it was first documented and popularized. To this day, this is the state where the most sightings are recorded, so it's either everyone is just lying in Washington, or there may actually be a Bigfoot in their woods. Bigfoot has gained worldwide attention, but for those who don't know, they're basically 7 to 8 feet tall hairy humanoids with extreme strength. To this day, the search for Bigfoot is still a mystery, and there has never been solid evidence to prove the general public that such a beast could exist, other than these footprints, but I don't even know if they're real. You could just draw it out with your hand. But hey, if you live in Washington, you have the best chance of actually discovering one, but that outcome would probably not be good for you because they're not that much a friendly creature. Number 3, Tacoma Old City Hall. Serving as City Hall in the early 20th century, this 10-story clock tower is haunted by a single prankster ghost named Gus. Many don't know the origins of this ghost, but it is said that he may have been a former criminal that was held in the building's old city jail and passed away there. So as I mentioned, this building served as City Hall until 1957. This was a time when the City Hall was being neglected, no maintenance, no payments, so eventually the building was too unsafe to work in. Nowadays, visitors of the old City Hall claim that prankster ghosts have taken over the building. For example, Gus is known to toss objects in the air at random, turn on lights on and off, and sometimes he would just completely shatter light bulbs. At one point, the sightings were so frequent, the police believed it was a real person trespassing the property, but upon further investigation, it was discovered that no one was even there. Some even say that Gus haunts the clock tower, and they are known to randomly ring the bell every so often, but it's usually at night when the building is completely empty. Number 2, Kel's Irish Pub. Considered to be a family-friendly bar / restaurant, the Kel's Irish Restaurant and Pub is said to be one of the most haunted eateries in the entire nation. To start, the pub is located in the Butterworth building, which is a former mortuary, so you kinda know where this story is going. This would basically mean that the entire building was used to store deceased bodies. Throughout the years, many spiritualists have been brought to the Butterworth building in an attempt to initiate meaningful conversation with alleged spirits who remain there. Nowadays, visitors report sightings of a ghost of a young girl dressed in a scarlet velvet dress there. Others have spotted the ghost of an older gentleman as well, named Charlie, who would just appear at random throughout the entire building. Basically, this means that if you decide to visit this place and eat here, chances are you're probably going to encounter something supernatural, but don't worry, because they say that the spirits here are mainly positive, so not much to worry about, right? Number 1, the 13 Steps to Hell. Built in 1901, the Maltby Cemetery in Woodinville, Washington is said to be one of the go-to cemeteries if you want to experience some sort of paranormal activity. The most famous legend about the cemetery is the story of the 13 Steps to Hell. The stairs appear to lead to nowhere and descended into a ground as they are located in the center of the cemetery. They allegedly led to an underground family tomb. Even though you were only a few feet away, it was said that when you went down the stairs, you abruptly lost the ability to hear anything above you or around you. It is said that if you turn around and face the bottom of the stairs, you could catch a glimpse of hell yourself. Local lore claims that occasionally people would descend down the stairs and just never come back up. Even though the steps were removed many years ago, there are still stories concerning them, and many people don't even know the real mystery behind these steps in the first place. At number 10 spot, we have the Warren Occult Museum. The Warren Occult Museum is a museum located in Monroe, Connecticut. It was founded by paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren. You know, the ones from Conjuring? Yeah. It was dedicated for preserving and displaying artifacts related to the supernatural and the occult. As we see in the films, this place has objects ranging from cursed witch voodoo to innocent looking toys with murderous histories. Rightfully so, the Warren Occult Museum is known for its association with its own hauntings. For example, at many different times, the guests and even the Warrens believed that it was haunted by the ghost of the object it contained, no matter how much preparation was made to prevent it from happening. Other visitors claim that the museum is actually haunted by the ghost of Ed Warren himself. The legend says that the ghost of Ed Warren can be seen in the museum and that his presence can be felt by those who enter. Other notable objects in this museum include Annabelle the doll, the Devil Made Me Do It dinosaur toy. At a number 9 spot, we have the Witch of Wooster Square. The Witch of Wooster Square is a ghostly figure that is said to haunt the streets of New Haven. The legend of the Witch of Wooster Square is thought to have originated in the early 1800s when New Haven was a bustling city and Wooster Square was a popular gathering place. At the time, the square was home to many shops, taverns, and other small businesses. However, this was still a time when the witch hysteria was ongoing, so it didn't take long until all the townsfolk accused one lady of being a full-fledged witch. The lady was said to be a very beautiful, but also a very mysterious and reclusive person, which just gave more reason to believe that she was hiding something and therefore a witch at the time. Over time, people started to fear her as the locals claimed the lady would cast spells and curses on those who crossed her. The legend of the Witch of Wooster Square grew, and people began to claim that they had seen the ghostly figure of a woman on the streets of the square. Some claimed to have seen her floating through the air, but regardless, visitors claim to feel a different type of energy when they're here at this place. At our number 8 spot, we have the Green Lady. The Green Lady is a popular story in Connecticut. According to the legend, the Green Lady was a woman who lived in a mansion in the woods outside of a small town in Connecticut. She was known for her beauty and her love of nature, and she would often be seen walking through the woods wearing a long flowing green dress. However, one day, the Green Lady disappeared without a trace. It is said that her ghost now haunts these woods, still wearing her green dress and looking for her lost love. Some people claim to have seen her standing amongst the trees with with a sad and wistful expression on her face. Others have reported hearing her mournful cries in the night. Despite the creepy nature of this story, many people are drawn to the legend of the Green Lady and continue to search for her ghost in the woods of Connecticut. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, the story of this is a chilling reminder of the mysteries that lurk in the depths of the forest. At a number 7 spot, we have the New London Ledge Lighthouse. The New London Ledge Lighthouse is a historic lighthouse located in New London, Connecticut. It was situated on a small island at the entrance to the harbor and has been in operation since 1909. There are several scary stories associated with this lighthouse. One of the most famous is the story of a former lighthouse keeper named Captain Richard Phillips. According to the legend, Captain Phillips was a gruff and stern man who was not well liked by the other lighthouse keepers. One night, while he was on duty at the lighthouse, Captain Phillips had a heart attack and passed away. Since his death, many people have reported seeing his ghost still at the lighthouse. Some say that he is seen walking the halls, still carrying out his duties as the lighthouse keeper. Others have reported hearing strange noises and seeing strange lights coming from the lighthouse at night. Despite his ghost, the New London Ledge Lighthouse will always remain a popular tourist attraction and a beloved symbol of New England's maritime history. At our number 6 spot with the White Lady of Union Cemetery. The White Lady is a ghostly woman who is sent to haunt the Union Cemetery in Easton. According to the legend, the White Lady was a young woman who was tragically killed in a car accident near this cemetery. Ever since, her ghost is said to still be here, appearing as a white-clad figure floating among the graves. Many people have reported seeing the White Lady at this cemetery, and that her ghost is said to be particularly active on foggy nights. Some say that if you see this White Lady, it means someone you know will pass away soon. So best keep your eyes closed if you come here. Others claim that she is a benevolent spirit who brings good luck to those who see her. Over the time, the legend of the White Lady grew, and people began wondering if she was either good or if she was bad. But one thing was for sure, when you come to the cemetery, chances are you'll probably catch a glimpse of her spirit. In the hump of her list, we have the Litchfield Hills. The Litchfield Hills is a scenic region in northwestern Connecticut, known for its rolling hills and charming small towns. Locals claim that Litchfield Hills is actually haunted by the ghost of a woman named Elizabeth. According to the legend, Elizabeth was a woman who lived in Litchfield Hills in the 1800s. After she saw the passing of her children, she was so overcome with grief and despair that she turned to the dark arts to seek revenge on those who wronged her in life. Filled with extreme rage, she ran to these fields and stayed here until she passed away, murdering everyone who walked by. They say that she could still be seen wandering the hills, but as a ghost form, and that her presence can be felt by any of those who encounter her. As well, there's a farmhouse nestled away here that was built in 1790. This house seemed to be a spot for many different paranormal occurrences that even Ed and Lorraine Warren investigated and dubbed it the Ghost Central. At a number 4 spot with the Norwich State Hospital. The Norwich State Hospital was a psychiatric hospital located in Norwich, Connecticut. It was in operation from 1904 to 1996, known for its overcrowding, inadequate staffing, and poor conditions, which included reports of physical and essay of patients. During its time of being active, workers and patients claimed to see the ghosts from inside of these walls, and to this day, people believe these spirits are still here. They are said to be the spirits of the patients who passed away here after being left untreated and not taken care of. They also say sections of the hospital are haunted by the ghost of a nurse who was murdered there by a former patient. As mentioned, the hospital has closed down and many of the buildings were demolished, but the site still holds a reputation for being haunted and is still considered a popular location for ghost hunters, at least around the ruined grounds. Number 3, Devil's Footsteps. The Devil's Footsteps are a mysterious set of footprints that appear and disappear without any explanation in the woods of Danbury. The legend of the Devil's Footsteps is thought to have originated in the 1800s when the woods of Danbury were home to many settlers and farmers. At the time, it was said that a man named John Rugg was walking through the woods when he heard a strange otherworldly voice calling out his name. When he turned to look, he saw a pair of footprints in the snow that were not his own. Over time, the legend of the Devil's Footprints grew, and people began to claim that they seen these mysterious footprints in the woods following behind them. Some said that the footprints would appear and disappear without any explanation, while others claimed that they would hear the voice of the devil calling out their name, and ever since, this has been a mystery. Number 2, Chasing Youth. The Chasing Youth is a spirit that is said to haunt the old Mark Twain house in Hartford. The legend of the Chasing Youth is thought to have originated in the late 1800s when the Mark Twain house was home to the famous writer and his family. At the time, it was said that that Twain's wife, Olivia, was plagued by a strange illness that caused her to lose her youth and beauty. In her desperation to regain her youth, it is said that Olivia turned to the dark arts and summoned a spirit known as the Chasing Youth. Over time, the legend of the Chasing Youth grew. Eventually, more and more people would begin seeing this Chasing Youth creature. Some have said that they can still hear the sounds of footsteps and other strange noises inside of this house, and they could also feel the presence of the Chasing Youth even when they couldn't even see her. At number 1 spot, we have Union Cemetery. Union Cemetery is a historic cemetery located in Easton, Connecticut. The cemetery was established in 1740 and is the final resting place for many of the town's early settlers and notable residents. It is known for its beautiful grounds, historic headstones, and its association with several legends and other ghost stories. One such legend is that of the cemetery is haunted by the ghost of a woman known as the White Lady. Although there are many different variations of this story, here's another one. According to some, the White Lady is a ghostly figure that can be seen walking the cemetery at night, and she is often associated with a particular grave in the cemetery. Another legend associated with this place is that it's haunted by a man who was wrongfully accused and executed for murder. The legend says that the man's ghost can be seen in the cemetery and that its presence can be felt by those who enter, and some visitors claim that they've walked up to him and they've seen him talk, saying that he's asking them for forgiveness. At a number 10 spot, we have the Omagh bombing. The Omagh bombing was a horrific act of violence that occurred in the Northern Irish town of Omagh on August 15, 1998. This photograph you see here was taken just before the tragic bombing. Shortly after the photo was taken, a bomb exploded in the red car next to the boy being held on his father's shoulder. Incredibly, both the father and the child survived. But unfortunately, the photographer and 28 others lost their lives from the bomb, and furthermore, 220 people were injured. The bombing was carried out by the Real Irish Republican Army, the Real IRA, which is a group that opposed the IRA's ceasefire and the Good Friday Agreement. The bombing sparked outrage both locally and internationally and dealt a severe blow to the dissident Irish Republican campaign. The victims of the attack include people from a variety of backgrounds and ages, including Protestants, Catholics, teenagers, children, and even tourists. Despite the fact that intelligence agencies had information that could have prevented the attack, the information was not shared with the local police, leading to criticisms of their handling of the case and just a really huge facepalm indeed. In 2009, the victims' families won a civil lawsuit against the 4 defendants who were found liable for the bombing. However, despite several trials, no one was ever convicted of the attack. At a number 9 spot, we have the Menendez brothers. At first glance, this may just look like a basketball card of Mark Jackson, and it is. But did you notice anything odd about this? Take a look. Nothing? Well, look to the left side. These 2 men are the Menendez brothers. For those who don't know, this photo was taken days after the brothers had murdered their parents. So we have Mark Jackson and 2 guys who murdered their parents. What a great card. Not really. The Menendez brothers trial was a highly publicized and a dramatic legal case in the United States. The brothers were accused of killing their wealthy parents, and the trial centered around these 2 conflicting explanations for the murders. The defense argued that the brothers acted out of fear for their lives and claiming that their father had subjected them to years of abuse, and if you watch the videos of the brothers explaining this, it's pretty disturbing. So be warned if you do decide to watch. On the other end, the prosecution argued that they committed the murders for financial gain, with the intention of inheriting their father's substantial estate. The first trial resulted in a mistrial because both juries were deadlocked, but in the second trial, the brothers were tried together and were found guilty by a single jury. As a result, they were both sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, and now this Mark Jackson playing card will forever be known for something other than basketball. Number 8, Columbine school shooting. Looks like a regular school photo, right? Well, this was taken in 1999 at Columbine High School. And if that name sounds familiar, you should know where this is going. These guys that are seen pretending to hold up a gun are actually the ones who committed one of the worst school shootings in history. On April 20th, 1999, 2 12th graders, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, carried out the attack, killing 12 students and a teacher and injuring 21 others before taking their own lives. This tragedy shook the nation to its core and sparked a nationwide debate about gun control, school security, and the cultural influences that may have contributed to the shooter's motivations. The Columbine massacre was planned over a year by Harris and Klebold, who both had a fascination with guns and explosives. They had hoped to cause widespread devastation and kill as many people as possible. To do this, they also implanted homemade bombs in the school, however, they failed to detonate, leading to the shooting right after it. The attack was carried out with cold efficiency and lasted for over an hour before the shooters took their own lives in the school library. The police response to the incident was heavily criticized, with law enforcement officials being accused of being too slow to intervene and of not responding appropriately to the situation. And unfortunately, this stuff keeps happening today, so it seems like we have learned nothing from this. At our number 7 spot, we have the worst party ever. This photo looks like a regular early 2000s party picture you would take with the boys, but this isn't the case for this one. This photo captures a moment of horror and tragedy frozen in time. The man with the orange cup, Tyler Hadley, had committed a horrific crime just hours before. He had murdered his parents, Blake and Mary Jo Hadley, with a clawed hammer while high on ecstasy. The bodies of his parents were hidden upstairs, wrapped in towels and covered in belongings, while the party raged on below. Tyler had a history of threatening to kill his parents and was known to see with anger whenever they punished him or showed parental authority. Despite this, no one expected him to actually follow through with his threats. But on the day of the murders, he promised the ultimate party, inviting guests via a message on his Facebook page. At the party, he began bragging about his crime, and guests who heard it quickly left or just thought he was lying. But for those who stayed, the reality of what just happened became all too clear. One of the guests, Michael Mandel, was even shown the bodies. Despite this, the party still raged on, with the two young men posing for the infamous photo that would later become evidence in Tyler's trial. Eventually, the word of the crime spread and Tyler was arrested the morning after the party. He was sentenced to life imprisonment and the Hadley house was later demolished. This photo remains a haunting reminder of the horrors that can lurk behind closed doors and the dangers of drugs, anger, and a distorted sense of reality. Number 6, the Dutch Girls of Panama. Two young Dutch travelers, Chris Kremers and Lisanne Frood, set out on a hiking adventure in Panama on April 1st, embarking on the challenging El Pianista Trail. The parents of the girls, who were used to receiving daily texts from the daughters, became worried when they did not hear from them on April 2nd. On April 6th, the parents, along with the police, arrived in Panama to search for the missing girls. Despite a comprehensive 10-day search of the forest, no trace of them was found. It wasn't until 10 weeks later that a major breakthrough was made in the case. A local woman handed in a blue backpack belonging to Froon, which contained personal items such as a camera and their phones. The phone showed evidence of emergency numbers being dialed, but due to the lack of reception, the calls did not go through. Froon's phone died on April 4th, and Kremer's phone was turned on intermittently between the 5th and 11th, but the PIN was entered incorrectly each time. The discovery of the backpack was only the beginning of the mystery. On the camera were 90 flash photos taken before 1 and 4 in the morning, deep within the jungle and in complete darkness. One of the images showed the back of Kremer's head with blood in her hair. 2 months after the backpack was discovered, human remains were found and later confirmed to belong to the two girls through DNA testing. To this day, what really happened to Chris Kremers and Lisanne Frood remains a mystery, with speculations ranging from a tragic accident to even foul play. Despite extensive investigations, no clear answers have been found, leaving their families and loved ones searching for closure. In the hub of our list, we have Tina Watson. In a tranquil blue lagoon surrounded by the vibrant coral reefs of the Queensland coast, two scuba divers smile for a photo as they make their way down to the ocean floor. Behind them, a still figure lies in the sand, a testament to the dangers that lurk beneath the surface of even the most serene waters. However, this was the last known photo of Tina Watson, a young woman who had journeyed to the Queensland with her husband Gabe for what was supposed to be a romantic honeymoon. Tina and Gabe were eager to explore the sunken shipwreck of the SS Yongala, a popular dive site known for its challenging currents and breathtaking underwater scenery. Despite being unqualified for the dive, they declined the offer of a guided tour and set out on their own. However, things quickly took a turn for the worse as Tina became entangled in the ropes and sunk to the ocean floor. Gabe claimed to have tried to save her, but his statements were later called into question when it was later revealed that he had asked Tina to increase her life insurance policy and named him as a sole beneficiary before their marriage. Foul play was suspected, and Gabe was eventually charged with manslaughter in Queensland. However, the charges were later dismissed, and he was instead charged in his home country of the United States with planning the murder. Tina's death remains a haunting reminder of the unpredictable dangers of the deep sea and the lengths some will go in the pursuit of money. Number 4, Jolie Calan. On a beautiful sunny day, 18-year-old Jolie Calan stands at the edge of a cliff, taking in the breathtaking view below. Dressed in an oversized red shirt, she gazes over the rolling hills and lush forests of the Pinholder Trail in Chaha State Park, Alabama. She had hiked to this scenic location with her ex-boyfriend, 20-year-old Lauren Bunner, who stood just a few feet behind her. But as Jolie posed for a photo capturing the stunning beauty of the landscape, little did she know that her life was about to be tragically cut short. In a moment of unspeakable violence, Lauren would raise a .22 caliber revolver and shoot Jolie in the head twice before throwing her body off cliffside into the deep ravine below. Jolie and Lauren had been dating for 10 months, but the relationship was very troubled. Jolie had broken up with Lauren because of his controlling behavior and his refusal to allow her to meet with her friends. Despite the breakup, they continued to keep in regular contact and even shared a dog together. But on that fateful day, Lauren invited Jolie on a hike with the intention of taking her life. After the murder, Lauren called the police and turned himself in, confessing to the brutal crime. He was sentenced to 52 years in prison for the murder of his ex-girlfriend. Number 3, a sword attack. On October 22nd, 2015, a horrifying scene took place at the Kronan school in Trollhättan, Sweden. A young man named Anton Peterson, dressed in a World War II German helmet and a Darth Vader mask. He entered the school with a sword in his hand as well. He targeted 2 students and a teacher immediately, leaving a trail of bloodshed and a tragedy behind him. The first victim was a 20-year-old TA named Levin Eskandar, and he was attacked with the sword and died on the spot. The second student, 15-year-old Ahmed Hassan, was stabbed in the abdomen and later passed away in the hospital. Peterson also killed 42-year-old teacher Nazir Amso, who had asked him to remove his mask. Incredibly, before the violence erupted, 2 students even posed for a photograph with Peterson, thinking he was part of a Halloween prank. When the police arrived, they shot Peterson, who later died from his injuries. The motive behind the attacks remains unknown, but Peterson is said to have shouted, "I am your father," before attacking his victims. Number 2, moments before disaster. The tragedy of the Beirut explosion on August 4, 2020 will go down in history as one of the most devastating and powerful non-nuclear explosions of all time. The explosion, caused by the improper storage of ammonium nitrate at the port of Beirut, resulted in 181 deaths and thousands of injuries and left 300,000 people homeless. The impact of the explosion was felt as far as Cyprus, Turkey, Syria, and Israel, and caused billions of dollars in damages. In the aftermath of the disaster, a picture was discovered on a photographer's recovered phone. The photograph captures a moment of heroism and bravery as a unit of 10 firefighters tried to break into a warehouse to put out a fire. Unfortunately, the explosion occurred moments later, and all 10 firefighters were swallowed up by the blast. Number 1, a dating game. Rodney James Alcala, also known as the dating game killer, was a notorious serial killer who appeared on the popular TV show The Dating Game in the 1970s, and this was a photo of him taking on the show. Despite his quote-unquote charming exterior, Alcala was a cold-blooded killer who was responsible for the deaths of at least 7 women, although the exact numbers of victims remained unknown. He would strangle his victims to unconsciousness, revive them, and then repeat the process until they eventually died. The scary part about this was that at the time of his appearance in the dating game, Alcala was in the midst of his killing spree, and his dark and sinister nature was not yet known to the public yet. He appeared as a successful photographer and was even able to win a date with bachelorette Cheryl Broadshaw, but she ultimately rejected him, calling him very creepy. Some speculate that this rejection may have fueled his later killings. Despite his brutal crimes, Rodney Alcala was able to evade justice for many years, but eventually he was caught, convicted, and sentenced to death for his crimes. To this day, he remains one of the most notorious serial killers in American history, and his appearance on the dating game is now a chilling reminder of how easily evil can hide behind a mask of normalcy. At a number 10 spot, we have the Tommyknockers. The legend of the Tommyknockers originates from the state of New Mexico. The legend follows a group of miners when they stumbled upon a strange and powerful object buried deep within the earth. As they began to excavate it, they were overcome by its strange energy, which transformed them into these bizarre, violent creatures. These creatures were known as the Tommyknockers and were infamous for their ability to knock on the walls and ceilings of mines, warning other miners to stay away. The legend goes on to say that the Tommyknockers were incredibly powerful, with superhuman strength and the ability to control the minds of those around them. They all roamed the mines, causing destruction and mayhem wherever they went. Despite their fearsome reputation, some believe that the Tommyknockers could be reasoned with, and attempted to communicate with them in order to understand their motivations. While some people, on the other hand, believe that the legend of the Tommyknockers is based on a real event that occurred in New Mexico, which had a bunch of trapped miners. However, others viewed a purely fictional tale. Over the years, many people have come forward to speak about their encounter with the Tommyknocker, which only adds to this creature's mystery more. At a number 9 spot, we have a witch's heart. The legend of the witch's heart in New Mexico tells the story of a powerful witch who lived in the forest near a small village. She was said to be able to cast spells and control the elements, and many people were afraid of her because of that. One day, the witch fell in love with a young man from the village, and and she cast a spell on him to make him fall in love in return. The young man, however, did not want to be with this witch and tried to resist her spell at all costs. The witch became very angry and threatened to destroy the village if the young man did not return her love. Talk about needy. The villagers, who were afraid for their lives, pleaded with the young man to give in to the witch's demands, but the young man was brave and refused to give into it. Now the witch was extremely pissed, and she decided to cast a powerful spell that caused the ground to shake and the trees to sway. She summoned a storm that raged for 3 days and 3 nights, causing destruction and chaos throughout the entire village. Finally, the young man, with the help of other villagers, was able to confront the witch and break her spell. The witch's heart was filled with so much anger and hatred that it just turned to stone, and she was never seen again. The villagers say that if you listen closely on a stormy night, you can still hear the witch's heart beating beneath the ground, a reminder of the power of love and the dangers of anger and hatred. At a number 8 spot, we have Haunted Mesa. The legend of the Haunted Mesa in New Mexico dates back to the early 1800s. According to the legend, the mesa was once home to a Native American tribe who lived in harmony with the land and its natural resources. But as time passed by, the tribe grew greedy and began to exploit the land. They would strip it of its resources and cause great harm to the environment because of it. As a punishment for their actions, the spirits of the land rose up and cursed the tribe, causing them to be consumed by a terrible darkness. The tribe was never seen again, and the mesa has been haunted ever since by the spirits of the land. They are said to still roam the area at night, searching for those who dare to desecrate the land. Many people have reported strange and eerie occurrences on the Haunted Mesa, including ghostly apparitions, unexplained noises, and mysterious lights. Some have even claimed to see the ghosts of the Native American tribe still wandering the mesa in search of redemption. Despite these stories, the Haunted Mesa remains a popular destination for hikers and adventurers who are drawn to its rugged beauty and eerie atmosphere. Some say the spirits of the land are still watching over the mesa, protecting it from those who would seek to harm it. So if you hike here, stride carefully. At a number 7 spot, we have a Witch's Bridge. The Witch's Bridge is a legendary structure said to be located in New Mexico, although the exact location is unknown. According to the legend, the bridge was built by a woman who was shunned by the community because they believed she was a witch. The woman, who was determined to get her revenge, constructed this bridge using her own blood and bone, imbuing it with dark magic as well. As the story goes, anyone who crosses the bridge will be cursed with bad luck and misfortune for their entire lives. Some say that the bridge is guarded by the spirit of the witch, who emerges at night to haunt and terrorize hikers. Others believe that the curse can only be lifted by performing a complex ritual at the side of the bridge. Despite the legend, there is actually no evidence of a bridge matching the description in New Mexico. It is likely the story is a tall tale or a piece of folklore, rather than a true account of events. However, that does not stop people from being intrigued by the legend and people going out searching for this bridge. At a number 6 spot, we have a man in the black hat. The man in the black hat is a mysterious figure who is said to haunt the deserts of New Mexico. Some say that the man in the black hat was a gunfighter or a bandit who roamed the desert, preying on travelers and settlers who ventured too far from civilization. Others claim that he was a ghost or a spirit haunting the land and seeking revenge on those who had wronged him in life. Despite the many different variations of the legend, one thing remains constant. The man in the black hat was a fearsome and dangerous figure, feared by all those who came in contact with him. He is said to wear a black hat, a long coat, and a pair of guns by his side, and was said to be incredibly fast and extremely deadly with a gun. There's even one story of him single-handedly defeating a group of 10 raiders in less than a minute in an attempt to just save some settlers. Despite his heroic deeds, however, the man in the black hat was never seen again, and his fate remains a mystery to this day. Some say that he simply vanished into the deserts, never to be seen again, while others believe that he met his end at the hands of another enemy. Maybe he finally found peace and moved on to the afterlife. Haven't we thought about that? In the hump of our list, we have the hanging tree. The legend of the hanging tree in New Mexico dates back to the 1800s, when the area was a wild and lawless frontier. According to the legend, the hanging tree was a large tree located in the center of town, where criminals and outlaws were brought to justice by being hanged from its sturdy branches. The most famous story associated with the hanging tree is that of a notorious outlaw named Billy the Kid, who is said to have been hanged from the tree after being captured by a posse of vigilantes. Despite its reputation as a place of justice and punishment, the hanging tree was also said to be cursed, and many people believe that anyone who were hung from this tree would be doomed to haunt the town for eternity. Over the time, the tree became a symbol of fear and dread, and people avoided it at all costs, even during the day. Eventually, the town decided to cut down the hanging tree and burn it to the ground in an effort to rid the town of its dark history and the supposed curse that was said to be associated with it. Today, all that remains of the hanging tree is a small plaque on the spot where it once stood. At a number 4 spot, we have a witch's ladder. The legend of the witch's ladder in New Mexico tells the story of a powerful witch who lived in the mountains and was known for casting spells and curses on those who crossed her. One day, a group of travelers stumbled upon her cabin and asked for shelter for the night. The witch agreed, but she secretly cast a curse on them. Desperate to break the curse, the travelers sought help from a wise woman who told them that they must climb to the top of the mountain and gather a handful of the witch's hair in order to break the curse for good. The travelers managed to do this, but the witch chased after them using all the spells she knew. Using the hair as a talisman, the travelers outran the witch and made their way back down the mountain, where they burned the hair and finally broke the curse. From that day on, the mountain was known as the Witch's Ladder. Despite the fact that the legend of the Witch's Ladder is just a story, it continues to be told and retold in the American Southwest, reminding us of the power and determination and the importance of standing up to those who seek to do us harm. At number 3 spot, we have the Curse of the Full Moon. The Curse of the Full Moon is a popular tale told to many in New Mexico, and it involves a powerful medicine man who placed a curse on the land to protect it from the actions of early European settlers. The legend goes that the medicine man was a powerful shaman who had the ability to communicate with the spirits of the land and the animals that lived there. He was deeply connected to the natural world, and he would have a great reverence for the land and its inhabitants. However, when the European settlers arrived, they began to disregard the sacredness of the land and its inhabitants. They would cut down trees, hunt down the animals, and they would pollute the waters. The medicine man was outraged by the settlers' actions, and he decided to curse the land with a very powerful spell. And whenever the moon was full, the curse was said to be at its strongest, causing even more misfortune for those who dared to defy the spirits. Over time, the legend became well known throughout the region, and this is when people began to fear the power of the spirits and the curse. At a number 2 spot, we have the ghost lights. The legend of the ghost lights in New Mexico dates back to the time of the Native Americans who inhabited the region. According to the legend, the ghost lights were spirits of the dead who roamed the earth in search of their loved ones. These spirits were said to be the souls of warriors who were killed in battle, or of women and children who had died of disease or other natural causes. The ghost lights were said to appear as glowing orbs of light that floated through the air, moving silently and without any apparent direction. Many people have claimed to have seen the ghost lights and described them as eerie and unsettling, and some even reported feeling a sense of fear or dread when the lights were present. Despite this, however, many people also found the ghost lights to be fascinating and mysterious, and they often went out of their way to try and catch a glimpse of these elusive spirits. In the recent years, the legend of the ghost lights in New Mexico has taken on a new dimension, with some people claiming to have captured video footage or photographs of the light. So if you guys want to see, go search it up on Google, and I promise you, you'll find one photo with it. At a number 1 spot, we have the Taos hum. The Taos hum is a mysterious low-frequency sound that has been reported in the town of Taos, New Mexico. It is described as a faint droning sound that is similar to the hum of a distant engine or the drone of a bee. Some people claim to hear the hum constantly, while others hear it occasionally. The source of the Taos hum is unknown, and there are many theories about what could be causing it. Some believe that it is a natural phenomenon caused by geological activity or atmospheric conditions. Others speculate that it is the result of human activities such as underground military bases or secret experiments. One of the most popular theories of this is caused by aliens. According to the theory, the hum is a signal or communication from an extraterrestrial civilization. Some people even claim to have experienced strange encounters or sightings of unidentified flying objects in the area where the hum is heard. Despite the many theories, no one has been able to definitely explain the Taos hum. The phenomenon remains a mystery and continues to fascinate and intrigue those who have experienced it. Some even claim that the hum has a strange, almost hypnotic effect on those who hear it, causing them to feel disoriented or dizzy.